I never considered ghosts, conspiracies, or anything else but what could be explained scientifically. But my sister disappeared. It began with the voicemails, and then I discovered that the world isn't as real as it appears. Emily was my sister. She had her life in order at all times. She was a nurse in a small town high in the mountains called Mountain Vale. I had not returned to the town since I left for college, but I could recall it as if it were yesterday. The crisp mountain air, the tiny little stores, and the way the sun would set below the mountains, painting the sky oranges and purples. But Mountain Vale is gone. It didn't burn down. It didn't collapse. It just vanished. Overnight. And nobody recalls it ever happening, except me. It started with a call, or the absence of a call. Emily and I talked every Sunday, as predictable as a clock. But one Sunday, she didn't call. I called her number, but it went directly to voicemail. I assumed her phone was dead, or perhaps she was at work. But when a week went by and I hadn't heard from her, I started to worry. I phoned the hospital where she was employed. The receptionist replied, "I'm sorry, there's no one here by that name." That's when I knew something was off. I visited Mountain Vale the following day. It took 6 hours, but I did not mind. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. When I arrived, there was nothing. No people, no town, no roads, just trees. Endless trees. I pulled over and looked at my GPS. The map showed I was exactly where Mountain Vale should have been, but it was gone. I stopped a park ranger who was walking around. "Excuse me," I said. "I'm looking for Mountain Vale. Is this the right place?" The ranger scowled. "Mountain Vale? Never heard of it. You sure you're not lost?" I showed him a photo of Emily and me standing in front of the town sign. He looked at it for a moment, then stepped back. "There's never been a town," he said. "There has only been forest." For weeks I searched every record I could find. Birth certificates, property deeds, tax returns, anything that could possibly indicate that Mountain Vale had ever existed. But there was nothing. It was as if the town had never existed. Even Emily's birth certificate had changed. It used to say she was born in Mountain Vale, but now it listed a town I didn't recognize, in a state she had never lived in. I called my former friends in Mountain Vale, people I had grown up with, but they all responded the same. "Mountain Vale? Never heard of it." I strolled down Main Street and my footsteps echoed off the emptiness. The buildings were all there, the diner, the gift shop, the post office, but unoccupied. There were no customers, no tables, nothing. And then I saw her, Emily. She sat in the road, gazing up at the sky. Her hair was a mess and her clothes were dirty and torn. She appeared to be sleep-deprived for several weeks. "Emily," I cried, running over to her. She spun around to face me and I remained motionless. Her eyes, they looked wrong, too wide, too black, like they belonged to someone else. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, shaking. "It's not safe." "What's wrong?" I insisted, gripping her shoulders. "What happened?" She shook her head and tears streamed down her face. "I don't know. One day, everything was fine, and then it wasn't. The sky changed, the air changed, and the static, it's everywhere. It's in everything. We have to get out of here," I told her, tugging her towards the woods. But she didn't stir. "You don't get it," she explained. "There's no out. The town doesn't exist on the map anymore. It's nowhere. We're stuck here." "That can't be true," I shouted, my voice rising. "We'll just keep driving until we find help." She shook her head once more. I've been walking for hours, but it's always the same. The town loops like it's alive, like it won't let us leave." I didn't want to believe her, but I knew. The air was too quiet and thick, and now I could hear the static, soft but constant, like a radio stuck between stations. "We have to try," I said, taking her hand. We ran through the forest, and the trees blurred together as we ran. But no matter how far we ran, we always ended up in the town. And then I saw it. In the distance, beyond the trees, there was movement. Something too tall, too thin to be human. It had long, spindly legs and arms that twisted at strange angles. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, and its face... It had no face, just a smooth, blank surface. It swung around towards us, and I felt a wave of nausea hit me. "Run," Emily whispered, her voice barely above the hum. I was the only one who seemed to remember. And then the voicemails began. The first one came late at night. I was sleeping when my phone vibrated on the bedside table. I woke up and answered it to find Emily's name on the screen. "Hello, it's me," the message began. Her voice was odd, as if she were speaking over an overwhelming amount of background noise. I don't have much time. The signals, they're disrupting everything. Time doesn't function normally here. It's like it's folding in on itself. I don't know how much longer I can. The message cut out. I tried calling the number again, but it rang and rang with no voicemail or anything. A week later, another message. It's me again. I don't know if you're receiving these, but something's off. The sky isn't normal here. It's like it's alive, and the static is everywhere. It's in the air and the ground. I can taste it in my teeth. Please, if you can hear this, you have to. Static. The messages just kept coming, each one more terrifying than the last. I believe I'm the last one. There is no one else. They've disappeared, but not as if they're dead, like they did not exist. I cannot find them. I cannot find anything. The town, it's not the same. The houses are there, but they're not the same. They look like copies, and the sounds, they're louder. I feel like I'm losing my sense of time. One moment I'm walking down the street, then suddenly it's night, or I'm home, and then I'm outside. I have no idea how long I've been here. It feels like years, but it can't be, can it? The noise, it's not sound, it's words. I don't know what they are, but they're in my head. They are saying things I don't want to hear. I saw something today in the woods. It wasn't human, but it wasn't an animal either. It was just wrong, and it looked at me. It looked right at me, and then it was gone. I couldn't stand it anymore. I needed to see it for myself. I grabbed a bag and a map and drove back to where Mountain Vale was going to be. The park rangers attempted to stop me, but I did not care. I needed to know. I walked for hours through the forest, following a map I had memorized in my mind. Then, as the sun was going down, I stumbled upon it. Mountain Vale, but it wasn't my town. The houses were there, but it was all wrong. The colors were too bright, the edges too sharp, like a distorted painting. And the silence, God, the silence. There wasn't any wind, any birds, any noise at all, just nothing. We attempted to flee, but to no avail. The thing was faster than us, moving in a strange, jerky way. It wasn't just moving, it was bending the space around it, shifting closer with every step. And then it was right in front of us. I don't remember what happened next. I lost consciousness, and when I awoke, I was in my car, parked by the side of the road. Emily was nowhere in sight. The town was nowhere in sight. There was nothing but the forest stretching out in every direction. I tried calling her, but the line was dead. The messages stopped after that. But every now and then, late at night, I can still hear the static, and I wonder if she's still there, trapped in that town that doesn't exist. Do I think I'll ever see her again? I've tried to move on. I've tried to tell myself it was all a dream, something made up, anything but real. But I can't, because I remember what I saw. I remember what I heard. And I know that, somewhere out there, Mountain Vale is waiting for me, waiting for you. One day it might take you too.